We're holding on Kufyud Bays 112, sort of in the middle of the page. Amid Aleph 112a. Thank Hashem that you're able to learn Torah every day. Especially if we're learning, we should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. And we're learning the Nishma Sahaba Golda Bas Baruch Ben Yamin and Hassan Seb Ben Bentzion, and also the first time for Avram Ben Sarah and Dalia Getzil Yasser Ben Pegitzpira. Okay. So we're going to start over here from Emasai. When do we say that there's a prohibition of delaying the workers' wages? That's only Bisman Shetave. That's only if the workers came to claim it. But if they didn't claim it, then Le'ena Iverlov, then he doesn't violate. Otherwise you have to chase the guy. The guy comes to the house, he asks for the wages, he can't delay it.
Yeah, but you don't know. You're assuming that they will, so.
Right. But usually on Friday or something, which is payday or something, everyone comes to get their wages to the office or whatever. Does the boss go around and hand everyone a check?
Well, are you saying what they do now?
Yeah.
It's kind of electronic.
Now it's electronic. Yeah, so then you don't have to put a request in, and they just send it to you. Tana Rabbanan started in a brisa. They sell in Pulasacher. You can't delay the wages. You can't delay the wages overnight. We're talking about a day worker, right? That you have the whole night, but once the morning comes, it's a violation. Maybe that applies even if the person didn't come to claim it. Pasuk says together with you. Now, the pasuk actually, the pasuk says like salim pula sacher itach or itcha ad biker until the morning. What do you have with that? Itcha. Until the morning. But the pasuk says with you. That means that means that he asked for it and you're aware that he is asking for it. Maybe this prohibition applies even if the employer doesn't have money. And it's just that's it. Person doesn't have money, then he has violations just coming. With you. That means that you have the money and you're not paying it. If the person actually doesn't have the money, then that's a different story. Maybe even if you designated the storekeeper to give him on credit to pay for his work, or you designated the banker to give him money to pay for his work. Pasuk says, with you, in other words, you're absolved of this violation if you designated a storekeeper to give him on credit. That's you've taken care of that prohibition.
So he's not liable.
It's not liable. The Mishnah said that if you designate him, if you stand him next to the storekeeper or next to the banker, you don't violate this. You don't violate delaying the workers' wages because you gave him who to collect from. Now it's a question. They had a question in the yeshiva. If the storekeeper or the banker didn't give the worker his wages, does he now go back to the original employer, or does he do something with the storekeeper and the banker? Well, this Gemara is missing a point over here. Does the storekeeper or the banker have the prohibition of not delaying the workers' wages? There's another step here.
Is he the middleman?
He's becoming the middleman. he's becoming like a guarantor, right? He's telling the employer is telling the employee that you can collect from this store, and this store will give you on credit, and I'm going to pay that bill. Let's say they don't give him on credit, so the store doesn't give him. So does he go back to the original person? This is really a question about like how guarantors work. So Rav Sheshes Amar Ein Chazer. Rav Sheshes says nope, he can't go back. He doesn't go back to the original person, the employer, and the employer doesn't have the violation anymore. He already was absolved from the violation, but gave it over to the storekeeper. Rabba Amar Chazer. Rabba says no, it goes back to the to the employer.
I think we spoke about it before. Since that was not focused.
He's considered a shliach.
Yeah, if someone else is there.
Oh, yeah. What we said before, which was very interesting, we said before that if we take that if the employer tells a messenger to go hire workers, so we said that no one violates then the delaying payment, not the shliach, because he's not the one that's paying, and not the employer because he wasn't the one that hired. Over here, he's telling someone to pay, not to hire. He's telling someone to pay, and we're suggesting that maybe once he does that, he's absolved from the prohibition. And so Reb Sheshes says, and if the guy doesn't pay, the prohibition doesn't go back on the employer. Rabbi says that it does. How do we know this? It says that when you designate the store or the banker to pay, so then the employer doesn't violate. Right. He says that it just says that he doesn't have the violation. But if he comes back to him, then he comes back and then he has to pay. Then the employer has to pay. Rav Sheshes says, what does it mean he doesn't violate? The whole din is off. The whole category of delaying payment goes off once he designates someone else to pay. Yeah. There's a discussion if the shliach here, not the storekeeper, he has a prohibition of delaying payment. According to Rav Sheshes, looks like he does, because the whole halacha steps over from the employer onto the storekeeper. Anyway, they asked the question from Rav Sheshes, kablanas. Kablanas is like a contractor. He's not getting paid by the day, getting paid by the job. And when he finishes the job, so then he's supposed to get paid. So the question is, they didn't give him a time frame when he has to finish it. It takes I don't know, they give him I don't know, some silver that he has to fix up. So when he's done, he gives it to the guy, and the guy says, "Okay, I'll pay you." But he didn't know when he was coming. He didn't know, So does he violate it within the same time frame that he is paying? Well, the Gemara elaborates on this question. Uman kind of do we say that the craftsman, let's say here it's the silversmith, do we say that he acquires the improvements of the article that he's working on, and then when it comes to giving it back, he's actually selling it. He's selling it back. He's selling the improvements to the owner, and so the item was by him just as like a collateral, like a loan. The item was by him by a loan, and the improvements on the item are being sold back. Is that how it works by a craftsman? And then, if that's the case, then there's no issue over here of delaying payment because it's just a sale. When it comes to a sale, there's no rule that you have to pay for this purchase before nightfall or before dawn.
Well, I would imagine, an employer would have to pay, like immediately, like the day that the job
Right.
is done.
Right. The only question is that how it works by a craftsman? A craftsman, maybe it works a little different, and you don't have to pay it right away because the guy sold you the improvement on the item. When it comes to a sale, you don't have this rule that you have to pay within the same day. Maybe the craftsman does not own the improvements. He was just a regular employee that's working on this person's item. So yeah, he didn't have the same time frame. But yeah, right when he finishes the job, so he's a regular worker. Amr Rav Sheshes says Oiver. It's a prohibition, which means that he's a regular worker and ain't uman kind of keli, that he doesn't own the improvements and sell them, but the improvements are really the just the work that he does for the owner, which he gets paid for. The Gemara says Vatanya ain't Oiver. But we have a brisa that says it's not so. We have a brisa that says that he doesn't violate it by when it comes to kablanas, when it comes to craftsmanship. It says Hasam Shem Chayitzel Chenem and Yivetzel Shulchani. But there, when it says that it doesn't violate it, that's because he told him that he's going to get paid from the store, and he takes on credit, and then the employer is going to come and pay the store, pay the bill. Name Messiah. Let's bring a support for this. It says Hanaisin Talise Leuman Legamra. If someone gives his garment to a craftsman to complete it by idea, and he lets him know that it's done. Even for 10 days later, he doesn't violate the prohibition of delaying payment. He didn't pick up the item yet. Now, let's say he gave it to him midday, then then once the sun sets, then he does violate it. Now, and if we say that it's actually a sale, that the craftsman owns the improvement and he sells it to the owner, so then why would it be a violation? There's no violation when it comes to a sale of blind payment. Rav Mari, the son of Rav Kana, says here we're talking about a special type of work where there is no improvement. It's a garda de sarbala, some type of large shaggy wool. How do they? Thick garment. So it says if there's no improvements, so why did he give it to him? What was the point? He gave it to him to do what? It says the rakuche wanted him to soften it, to make it softer. It was too hard. So it says, well, so that's an improvement. So there are improvements here, and if there are improvements, so then what do you mean that that there's no, that he doesn't violate? If you would say that then there should be a violation.
So if it's does that mean that the craftsman sort of acquires it in a way?
If it's improved, yeah, then there's one option that he acquires it, and then there would be no prohibition. Another option is that he doesn't acquire it, and he was just a worker. He has to get paid in its time. So here we're saying that's real. Here we want to say that really a craftsman acquires the improvements, and really there should be no violation. So why over here do we say that there is a violation? That's because this is a special thing where there's no improvements at all. But if there would be improvements, it would be a sale. But here there's no improvement, so it's not a sale. It says 1 second. So what is he doing with it? There's no improvements. So he says, well, he's softening it up. He says, well, that could be considered improvements. He says, he hired him to bang it, and he's not paying him for how soft it gets. He's hiring per bang that the person does on this thick leather garment. So every bang is worth one coin, 1 penny. Yeah, it's interesting. This is they pay for the process. weave. Oh. Uh-huh. What is it? What does he describe? Yeah, a ma for each thread. For each time, each thread, it's each bang. Yeah. Okay. Imagine like someone getting a massage, and he says every bang that you do on my neck is a penny. Okay. We enter into a new sugi over here. A very interesting discussion about trusting the worker if he was paid or not. So sacher bizmanai nishba v'naitel chulu. Say that if the person comes in time, the worker, the employee says that I wasn't paid, then he just takes an oath, and the owner has to pay him, even if there's a conflict there. Why did they institute that that he has to swear? Usually, when it comes to to Torah oaths, the one that swears is the one that's supposed to pay, and when he swears, he absolves himself from paying. He gets out of that. He's freed from paying. Like the Metzia Daf, for example, he owes money, and he only admits to half of what he owes, so he swears, and he doesn't have to pay the other half. Here, we're putting an oath on the employee to swear to collect. It's not the way we normally do this. Rav Yudah Shmuel. Rav Yudah says in the name of Shmuel, he's a student of Shmuel. Halacha is kedayla shanukan. Oh, this is a great halacha. Usually means a halacha l'maisha misina. This was a tradition passed down from Moses. It says the Gemara says Hani Hilchasinino. This is that's sort of tradition that's passed down. Hani Takanasino. This is a later institution that the rabbis instituted. That he takes an oath. Elam Rav Yudah Shmuel. Rather, Rav Yudah Shmuel said, this is a great institution, not a great halacha. It's a great institution. Then he flips it. Next piece. So it says Gedolos from Klal Kektanis. What do you mean great? That means that there's other institutions that aren't great. Alam Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel Takanis Kavui Shanakan. What it means is that it's a institution that was set that actually goes against the biblical process. What is that? It's a shvur de balabais. Really, the owner should be able to take an oath if he claims that he already paid. Takes an oath, and then if he takes that oath, then he'll be exempt from paying. The rabbis took the oath off the owner and they put it onto the worker. Interesting. They put the oath on the worker to that he takes the oath. The employee takes the oath in order to get paid. Mishum kedei chayiv the sacher, because we don't want to give the opportunity for the owner to take the oath, and then he won't end up paying the worker. And meanwhile, the worker, the one that has the option of taking the oath is the one that's going to get the money, right? So this means if the worker is so sure, he'll be able to get the money and he'll be able to get paid. The Gemara asks, "Mishum kedei chayiv the sacher mafsadna leid l'balabayas." You're so worried about the worker getting paid, because of that, you're ready to cause the employer to lose. Is that how it works? It's only like the workers always win. So it says balabayas kufei nichali de mishtam sacher v'shakar. The reason why we're doing this is because the balabayas, the owner, the employer, would rather that the worker swears and takes because he would like to get workers to hire workers later on. He doesn't want people to say, "I'm not working." They don't always pay. So he'd rather that the workers should have that benefit, that they should always get paid. So the workers take the. It says sacher gufei nichale de mirsava balabayas v'yivka. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe the worker the employee would rather that the employer should take the oath, and and exempt himself from paying so that he should get hired more often. And hopefully get paid. Not like this time. But maybe he would be willing to give in so that he should be able to get the job more often. If people are going to get the workers are going to have an opportunity to get paid double by taking an oath and getting paid a second time, people are going to stop hiring workers. They'll invent robots. Here we're saying that he can take an oath that he wasn't paid, and then the owner will pay him. Not double. He's claiming that he was never paid. The owner said, "I paid you." He's saying, "No, you never paid me." So who swears? The worker. The worker swears, and then he gets paid. The owner's claiming, "I can't believe I have to pay you double just because of this." But maybe so. We're saying, well, this is an institution because we don't want the employer not to be able to hire workers. Workers are going to claim we don't always get paid. So he said, but what about the other way? Maybe we want the owner to be able to take, because he's not going to. Maybe the worker wants the owner to swear so that the owner should hire more often. Otherwise, he said, he says he doesn't want to have workers. The Gemara says, don't worry about the owner ever saying that he doesn't want to have workers. But he needs the workers. He's compelled. He needs the workers. He doesn't have a way out. He's going to have to hire workers.
Say also that the employer, boss, he can fire
right.
So has an advantage
there. Right. And then, so the Gemara goes the other way. It says, but the worker is going to get to work anyway. What do you mean? People are going to stop going to work because they go to work because they need the money. They're going to go to work anyway. Even if you would put the oath on the balabayas, the worker's still going to go to work. Ella, rather, the reason why we did this was not because which one would rather, if the balabayas would rather the other person swear, or the sacher would rather the balabayas swear. That's not our discussion. The reason why we put the oath on the employee was because balabayas tarad b'pailamu. Balabayas doesn't remember because he has so many employees. He doesn't remember who he paid. Everyone's coming and asking for their money. Doesn't remember who he paid. So the worker, the employee, he remembers. The balabayas doesn't remember. Where it says, "Yihachi nesav le b'lei shvua." So then why don't we just give the worker without an oath? Why are we making him take an oath? It says, well, that's kadei lahavas daita shel balabayas. We still need to appease the employer that he's not being taken advantage of. So we make the employee take an oath. Nesav le beidim. Maybe what we should institute, instead of instituting an oath, maybe what we should institute is that whenever the balabais pays, you always have to pay in front of two witnesses. That way we'll always have this, we'll set it up. So when it comes to payment, when it comes to you come to the office, get your paycheck, there's two witnesses there, and they're going to remember who got paid. It says, well, that's shichlo milsa, that's a big job. That's too much of an effort. Right. Where it says, why don't you pay them at the beginning and in the morning before they start work? I think somehow this is going to help the balabayas remember. Shneim writes in Bakafa. Says, no, you don't want to pay them beforehand because both of them would not like to have to hold on to the money while they're doing the work. First of all, the balabayas probably doesn't have the money in the morning. He has the workers there to help him get the money. And the workers don't want to have to hold the money all day while they're doing the work. Possibly they could lose it. They would like to take the money at the end of the day. If that's the case, I feel a katzatznami. if we're saying that we're going to trust the worker with an oath that he's going to always win in an argument between him and the employer and the employee wins, right? So then why, when it comes to setting up the price in the beginning, we say differently? It says Tanya was taught in a brisa. Alama Tanya, why was it taught in a brisa? The craftsman says, you told me you were going to pay me 2 coins. And the employer says, I only made up to pay you 1 coin. And the rule is that if the worker wants to get 2 coins, he has to prove it. You can't just take an oath to get 2 coins. But here we're saying when it comes to payment, he just takes an oath and he gets an extra payment. When it comes to how many coins he gets, then we don't trust him. Gemara says, when it comes to setting the price, the balabayas, the employer, definitely remembers how much he set the price for. It's only when it comes to payment that he doesn't remember if he paid him. If that's the case, that we trust the employee to take an oath to collect payment. Why, if the employee comes later? So why was it taught in our Mishnah? How come we learned in the Mishnah that if the employee comes late, comes a day later, that we don't say that he can take an oath and collect? He says, you never paid me. Shows up a day later. You never paid me. We say, no. Okay, the balabayas says I paid you. We trust the balabayas. If you want to get paid, we tell the employee, you have to bring a proof, not just take an oath. Why do we say that when it comes to a day later? The balabayas doesn't remember. Gemara says, well, we have a chazaka. Chazaka in balabayas over mishum baltalin. We have a assumption that the employer would not want to violate the rules of delaying payment. So since it's a day later, he probably paid before the time. It says, you told me that the balabayas is so busy, he doesn't remember. He says, well, that's before the deadline of the prohibition. But of matazman chiyuva, we're on 13 now. When it comes to the time of the prohibition, Rami and Afshe Mitka, then he's for sure going to put in the effort, and he's going to remember if he paid him or not. Yeah, last minute he's going to make sure to remember: did I pay him? Did I not pay him? He's going to think, he'll go back. Where was I? When it came pay time.
So this is a chazaka that sometimes the employer pays before the money is due?
No, this is a chazaka that when the money is, he paid before the money was overdue.
Before it was overdue.
Before the prohibition. In other words, the employee is claiming a day later that I wasn't paid yesterday. He comes on Monday, he says, you didn't pay me on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So we say, and the employer says, oh no, I paid you. You're here with everyone else, I paid you. So we trust the employer because it's a chazaka that he wouldn't have let sundown come or morning come, whatever it is. I don't know how it works with Shabbos. But he wouldn't have let the time pass to have the prohibition. Okay. It says, so what are you saying? So you're saying that you're only trusting that the employer would not want to have the prohibition, but you're not saying that the employee would not want to violate the rules of do not steal. And here you're saying that, oh yeah, that we trust that, give the employer the benefit of the doubt that he paid, and don't trust the worker. So what are you doing instead? You're saying that the worker is ready to violate Leisigzel, but the employer is not ready to violate Baltalin, not to delay payment. It says, well, Hassam, when it comes to the employer, Trei Chazaki, there's 2 chazakas, but over here with the worker, there's only chada chazaka. There's only 1 chazaka. How does that work? Gabi balabayas ikatre chazaka. When it comes to the employer being trusted, we have two. When the guy comes late, we trust the employer. It says, first of all, chazaka, We assume that the Balabayas would not violate the rules of Baltalan, not to delay payment. And another thing is that the worker, we have a chazaka that he's not going to come late to get his payment. The fact that he's showing up on Monday is suspicious. Chazaka that the Balabais doesn't want to violate. Another chazaka that the employee would have came on time to get his payment. That's what people normally do. So now you're trying to switch that. You're trying to say both of those chazakas are not correct, so that we don't trust the employee. Hacha over here. Maybe. I don't know. Over here, what are you trying to say? That the employee wouldn't violate the rules of Lisigzal now that he's claiming later? So you say with that it's just chada chazaka. That's just one chazaka that he's probably an honest guy, but that's not stronger than the balabayas' two chazakas. That where were you on payday? Most people normally come, and also I would never have wanted to violate the prohibition of delayed payment. Okay. Now we say if there are witnesses that he claimed the payment, so then he's allowed to take the oath. It says, why do you need witnesses to say that he's claiming payment? He's claiming the payments right now. Why do you need witnesses to come and say, oh no, he claimed the payment? That's like the guy that was going through customs. They said, show me your passport. So he said, what's a passport? He said, the passport is this little book and it has a picture of you. So you need a picture of me? You have me right here. Why do you need a picture of me? So what's here with the Gemara saying, why do you need witnesses to say that he's claiming from the owner, from the employer? He's claiming from the employer right now. You need witnesses to say that he may put a claim in. He's standing by the door. He's knocking. The witnesses aren't saying that he's putting a claim in. The witnesses are saying that he claimed the payment he came yesterday, came on Friday to get the payment, and the guy didn't give it to him. So now, when he's showing up on Monday, they're saying that you owe me from last week's work. So the owner's saying, "Oh, come on, I would have paid you for sure." Says, "No. I have witnesses that I came then." Because the halacha changes if it's after the time. So we have witnesses that say that he actually claimed during the time, and then he keeps the same status. 1 second. The witnesses claim and say that we saw this guy approach the office on Friday to get his paycheck. That says, but maybe the owner paid him right after that. How do you know he didn't show up at his house? And when he walked away without the paycheck, okay? But maybe the owner ran over to his house later. It says, no, we have witnesses that the whole time until sundown or until whenever it was, until sundown probably, that we're witnesses that he didn't pay him yet. Kumar says, and so now because of this, because he had witnesses that on Friday afternoon until sundown, he wasn't paid, that means that he can always show up on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He can always show up and just claim that because I came on time, now you owe me. Maybe he's going to be claiming it for more than once. It says, no, you only get one extra day. Yeah, so I don't know how it works Friday, Sunday, Monday. With Shabbos, I don't know how Shabbos comes in, but let's say it was a Tuesday. So then he has witnesses that he didn't get paid Tuesday. So then he gets another day, Wednesday, to put the claim in and to take an oath to collect. Okay. The Mishnah says, someone lends his friend, when it comes to taking a collateral, the creditor cannot go to the borrower's house and take a collateral. He has to go to court. And it doesn't say who over here. It doesn't say if it's the creditor the lender, or if it's the Bezdin, Shliach Bezdin. But the Mishnah says that he can't enter his house to take the collateral.
That's like,
Not because of ribbis, it's harassment. We can't harass the borrower.
what a creditor is
Lending money.
and it's taking collateral, it's like something on top of.
No, it's not on top of the loan because the person isn't paying it back. He wants to take the collateral. So he's not taking more than the loan. He just wants to be sure that he's going to get paid. So he's not allowed to enter the person's house. Remember, b'chutz tamid. He has to stand outside and he has to wait for the person to bring him out, whatever the collateral is. Let's say the borrower, one that's in debt, he has two vessels. He takes one and he leaves one. Okay. Now we need to explain what's going on over here. The Mishnah continues. It says machzer sakar balayla v'samachresh bayayim. If the two collaterals are a pillow or a blanket, I don't know what car is. Car is a pillow, a cushion, and the plow. So the pillow he needs by night, and the plow he needs by day. So when he takes the person comes to take the collateral, he has to make sure that at night he leaves him with the pillow, and he takes the plow, and in the morning he has to come give him back the plow and he can take the pillow. V'meis, if the borrower dies in a machzer liyarsha, then he doesn't need to return it by night and by day to the inheritors. It's only to the person himself, to the borrower himself, where he has the special halacha that he can't take the item that he needs. Gamliel says this whole process of holding the collateral 30 days is holding the collateral and returning it by night and collecting it again by day. That's only for 30 days. And once 30 days passes, then you just sell the collateral, and then with that money you get repaid. Shmuel says Shmuel says that the messenger from Bezdin that's going to take the collateral, he can snatch it out of the person's hand in the marketplace, but he can't go to the person's house to take it. He can't go inside and do a search. He doesn't have a search warrant. But if he sees the guy on the street, he can take away his Rolex and say, you owe so much money to this person. Shliach Bezdin can do it. But he can't go into a house and start looking through his drawers and doing that. But Tanan, 1 second. Learned in our Mishnah, if someone lends his friend, he's not allowed to, the creditor himself is not allowed to go into the house of the borrower to take the collateral. He has to go to court. But it sounds like a michlal, that implies to be bezdin mashkinen, that the court itself is allowed to go to the house. We said that he's not allowed to go to the house. He has to go to court. But what does the court do? The court sends a messenger to go into the guy's house. And yet Shmuel said that the court's messenger is not allowed to go into his house. From the Mishnah, it implies that he is allowed to. Amalei Shmuel, or Amar Lach Shmuel probably. Ema lo yenatchenu el bebezdin. You should not snatch it instead of saying you can't. The difference between yimashkinenu means that you go to the house to take the collateral, and yenatchenu means that you snatch it away from him in the street. It says the malveh is not allowed to snatch it away from him in the street. Rather, he goes to Bezdin, and the Bezdin can snatch it away from the borrower in the street. It's also logical to say this. Dani Seifa, because if you read further, it says it says that he's not allowed to enter his house to take the mashkin money. Who is that referring to? This is the second line of the Mishnah. First line of the Mishnah was he's not allowed to take the mashkin, not allowed to take the collateral. He has to go to court. And we just adjusted it to mean he's not allowed to snatch it away from him in the street. He has to go to court, and the court will snatch it away. Now we have the second line of the Mishnah. It says he's not allowed to enter his house. It says who's not allowed to enter his house? It's just the pronoun there. He. Who's the he? If we're talking about it's the creditor. We already knew that he can't even snatch it away in the street. For sure, he can't go to his house. Rather, it's talking about when it says that he's not allowed to go to his house, he has to stand outside. That's talking about the messenger from the court himself is not allowed to go into the house of the borrower. Gemara says not necessarily. The proof that you just brought from the Mishnah is not such a strong proof because if that's the whole proof, you didn't really have anything in your hand. You haven't grabbed any real support. Because we could read it the following way. Oh, and the Bach takes out. It says it's missing words. The Mishnah. If that's the case, we can adjust the Mishnah and to take away this proof. If someone lends this to his friend, you're not allowed to go into his house to take a collateral. You have to go to court. But that would imply the Bezdin is allowed to go to his house. Wow. See, we just switched the whole halacha. Bezdin is allowed to go to the house, and that doesn't fit with Shmuel. But the creditor is not even allowed to take it away from him in the street. Why? It's a gzeira. I'm adding in the word gzeira from the Bach. Bach adds in the word gzeira shema, not shaloi, but shema. Shema yikanis lebesali t'mashkainei. In other words, we have a decree on the creditor that he's not allowed to take it from him in the street because there's a gzeira that maybe he's going to end up going into his house to take it. The guy doesn't, so he's going to snoop around his house until he comes out and then see something and take it. So we say, no, you're not allowed to touch anything, not even in the street, because we're afraid you may end up going to his house to take it. So, but the Shliach Bezdin is allowed to take it in the street and is also allowed to go into the person's house. That's the way I could have learned the Mishnah. But Shmuel says no, but from the Mishnah there's no proof. Okay,
so this is after.
I'm sorry. This is after the loan was given, yeah.
So why would the person do that? Usually you would only give the loan once you get the collateral.
Yeah, maybe the guy didn't pay back on time.
Well, but this is after the loan is already overdue, this whole sugya.
Yeah.
So he made the loan, it wasn't paid. He's gone to the Beis Din, and now the Beis Din has said, okay, we'll go grab collateral.
Right.
Or it's almost like a mortgage kind of thing, situation where you didn't pay your loan, so we're going to try to grab whatever we can.
This is collections.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to learn about B'shas Salvasai. The halacha changes, but you have to wait 2 days. On Yudalit, I'm in Bez. We learn that it switches a little bit. The halachas of returning it and all of this is only when the loan was taken after, when the collateral was taken after. Yeah. Okay, fine. Have a good Shabbos, everyone.
Thank you.
David Travis.